Okay, so we're gonna start off with our core, PSA, public storage. Um, I've read of a couple of things on this in regards to defensive, as a good defense, as a good defensive play. Chart is beautiful. Set up nicely for a long. We are currently in the 220 calls expiring next week, the 17th. As I mentioned to you guys, I also elected 240s for February. Or no, actually for March. Sorry about that. Which they're actually pretty cheap. Here you have your levels. Purple is 187.16, very important level. You guys know how the double bars work. 204.47, 208.39. That was a very important level to hold and close above. And when we close above the upper double bar, targeting red bar. Now red bar has 221.09. 14 SMA is basically right at that level, but it should come down to balance out. And what happens with the 14 SMA, it will possibly level out to another support or resistance. So in this case, it's going to be a resistance, and we're looking at around 218.81. This is our weekly chart. Daily chart is also as well setting up nicely too. Watching it last Friday, what caught me was the 30 SMA bounce. 14 is about to cross the 30. This is perfect setup. Slight triple bottom, if you want to call it that. We closed literally above previous days and past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably more than that, 10 days closing. So we're looking for a break. First off, we want to break above 214.85. We were looking for that. We actually tested 214 and then came back down and retraced from that the previous day, which was on a Thursday. So I'm going to use my Fibonacci retracements inside of my extension. Get us a nice, another red bar, which was 213.19. So I'll bring that down here. I want to see what's the next level, 217.90, which would be the gray bar here. So we get above, you guys know how I work with blue, green, and purple. Call those the three ladies of the fibs. We close literally at 213.75 right there, 100% bullish. A close at near the highs has a continuation, which we always follow through to 214.73. So I want to see a move above 214.73. We get there, we should definitely see 217.90 by Friday. Easily. I mean, 221 by Friday is definitely not out the question. But this is a daily chart, so it looks much more, it looks actually much more better. Looks much better. So PSA, I'm loving it. You guys have your targets here. You can write those down. You can screenshot it if that helps as well. Next up is our second core, CCL. See, now CCL, basically, I didn't like the reaction. Basically, this whole war thing kind of messed up this trade. This actually messed up the trade for me, myself. I mean, it was a birthday trade or whatever. I'm not even mad or anything like that. It's just a little disappointing, you know, but that's how the market is. You got to expect what's given, what comes, you know, and you just got to either make up for it or protect yourself. So that was our full-on loss. This gap down to the 14 SMA was what got me. Now, another thing I want you guys to understand is this. I'm going to show you SPY. CCL has been following SPY a lot, and that's the thing that bothers me. And there's a reason why I said I'm going to hedge puts, weekly puts, to basically hedge our 5250 calls. Now, see, SPY did the exact same thing. It didn't form the exact same candle, but it did the exact same thing. It bounced off the 14 SMA. Now, tomorrow, if we were holding here, I'm actually looking for a 320.78. That would be beautiful. You know, so use SPY when trading CCL. Weird, but sometimes it does. They move together and sometimes they don't. It's pretty weird, but it's pretty interesting when you start to watch it. So we're looking for CCL to come down to 49.14 in a similar sense of SPY to come down to 270, no, 220.78. So we want to see something. I want to see it. I want to see a somewhat it develop around this level, 49.14. Anything below that, definitely a short. So I would definitely look at the 49 puts for this week just to hedge. It's getting tricky, you know. This news, we gotta be safe. We gotta be ready. I mean, anything can happen by tomorrow. We can get an upgrade. We can get some news for CCL, and that changes everything. You know, when news is in play and buyers are in, that changes the game. So you have your levels for CCL going into tomorrow. A lot of you posted some nice charts too. You guys see my visual. Basically, we're all on the same page. My double bars, red bar is 50.12. Below, double bar of 49.63, short to 49.14. Possible add to long. But 52.50, thank God it's not a short week, so we don't have to worry about that. Got your vacuums in play. This is an hourly on CCL at that. So keep those levels intact. I mean, my levels these levels are subject to change. They might look different on yours, and that's okay. Next up on the list is Met. Met was nice. It was nice into end of day. It actually was a good lotto. It was actually an amazing lotto. You could have flipped that thing so much Friday for 20%, 30%, 50%, and then into the close from point oh 0.01 to somebody got 12 cents. People were buying 2 cents for the lotto. Now here we got our levels, that 50.68. The biggest issue here is that 51.79 level. That is the break to get to over 52, which is there's gonna be a lot of resistance around that area. But things as a whole have been flagging. This is a nice flag too developing as well. That 50.68 level has been strong. If we do gap down, I'm definitely gonna take some 51 calls to open. But I'm definitely loving this chart hands down. Weekly, it's either the weekly or the daily I'm not a fan of. Let me see. Daily I'm a fan of. It's the weekly. I didn't like the weekly. It was like an inside. See, that hammer was nice. I don't know how Banks reacting to war, to be honest. But it was pretty interesting the strength behind Met for Friday. And it wasn't because of call buying, but you can just tell by how it was moving. Like that hammer. Hammered off of that similar level on 12.30, if that's correct. No, this was 12.31. Weekly is the only thing I didn't like, but I'm still bullish. I'm still bullish this one. Definitely gonna watch it. Um, I like this inside candle here. It's gonna be tricky. I want to see them open. I want to see us open down and then go long from there. So this is definitely on the top of my watch. I like how Met moves. It can really get going if it gets some good momentum. I even did like a inspection of similar setup with this type of candle, and I never seen this type of candle pattern on Met before. I looked everywhere, can't find anything, and this is a weekly one. Usually looking at similar patterns, you get an idea of what can happen next. Like I can use this here, and then we should follow with a green. We should gap down and get a green. So I'm looking at this weekly setup, and that should be somewhat to here. I want to gap down, and then we go green. That was around 51.68. So playing 51 calls to open on any gap down would be nice. Just got to make sure that it's off as a support level. I'll make sure I have triggers and alerts set for that as well. Next up, let me go through the list. One second. Shaq. Shaq is definitely still on the list. Shaq is very strong Friday. And to me, very strong is holding key levels, not the fact that it was basically basing out. It was just channeling all day between 60 and 60, 50. It was back and forth, up and down, all day Friday. But that's strength to me. Formed a nice weekly inside, too. Me, I'm liking the 65 calls with time because that's where the 14 SMA is going to come when this thing breaks out. It definitely needs a major close above 62. I'm going to go for 62. I round it as an even number, a whole number, as opposed to saying these closes were close here with 61.50. I'm liking it above 11.25's close, which was 61.98, or be like I said, rounded out to 62. So playing 62 calls a week to 2 weeks out is smart because that's a major resistance level that needs to close above on the weekly. Shaq is still intact from our other weekly videos, so I don't need to go in depth with that. Knock, I don't really need to chart that as well. That it's doing its thing. LXRX. I wanted to get more cheap. I wanted to get cheaper, and I'm looking more towards the 4 calls as opposed to the 5 calls. Why the 5 calls? I'm not too much of a fan is because of we have 2 weeks left, and LXRX moves funny sometimes, but it's basically basing off of this double bar low, which is the 14 and 30 SMA. So I want to see if we can open up somewhere around 379. I'd go long those 4 calls and just add to them as long as it stays above 379 on this weekly. Targeting 442 at least. We can get that this week or even an inside candle this week on the weekly would be nice and strong. That's 4 red days, or that's 4 red weeks. I'm looking for a nice green week to follow through here. Usually it does 3 red days and then it has a green to follow. So we're going to get a green. I'm expecting a green candle this week on the weekly for LXRX. I like this long term. We already have a video also on this one as well. FedEx. The reason I tell you guys to study these, my levels can be different from your levels. As long as our levels are close, we all have the same idea. And that's basically what matters. FedEx. This one's a tricky one. I started watching this when I recently brought it up. I like the chart. It's the weekly. Like this double bar of the 148 holding on the weekly. That's very important. Playing in the channel. There's a channel that developed here is 148 to 165.46. So the smartest thing to do would play 2 weeks out, 165, which is the resistance, collect premium on that, basically meaning you can collect profit on that as price goes up, targeting the 158.50, 30 SMA on the weekly. FedEx hasn't traded above the 14 SMA in about 3 weeks to be exact. And it hasn't traded above the 30 SMA in about 3 weeks to be exact as well. So we want that, as long as the 14 remains below the 30, we know what has to happen here. So for FedEx to actually bottom, it has to get above 165.46. So a lot of activity in the 165s for next week. Pretty cheap too, around 20 cents, if I recall. But I definitely like it a lot. It's definitely a double inside week. That has to break out 165.46. either breaks up or breaks down. Not sure what shipping companies, how they respond to war and everything like that, but we'll see. Let's see what's next. GD. GD. This one, I put a heart next to it because I am so in love with this setup. And if you guys know me, my favorite setup is a asymmetrical triangle. This thing has triangles written all over it. And when it breaks out of a triangle, it breaks out of its triangles. Off the back, looking at the weekly here, you can just see, look at all these triangles. It's a nice triangle here. Oops. Beautiful triangle. Nice breakout on this triangle. Stretch out this. We can stretch it out. Even right now, we have a triangle. We have two different types of triangles. We have this one, and if I did it, even I can even draw a channel from this just to give you an idea of where this is gonna end up. I mean, I'm making even August 200 calls on this one would be nice too. The weekly is sexy. This is super duper sexy. This is like chart porn at its finest. I like the fact that we closed at the 14 SMA. 14 is actually below the 30 SMA. I like the fact that it's a green weekly candle after 3 red candles, and prior to that was a green hammer candle. So I like when there's red bars or red candles in between 2 green candles. When the green candle's on the outside, that's bullish to me. When it's a red candle on the outside, if this hammer was a red candle and these were all greens, and this was a red candle to follow for the weekly, it'd be more on the bearish side. I love this setup a lot. I mean, we can even draw extensions on this if we want to, just to get an idea. Bring it up to this top and drop it down to here. That closed above 178.99. The 190s, a couple of weeks out, and this is a weekly, so we got to buy time on this one. Depending on how this breaks here, I would actually have to draw another triangle inside here. So it'll be here, and then it'll be here. It'll be considered a tighter triangle, with a daily. Makes it more. Looks much more better too. We're already above the 14 and the 30. We closed at the 30 on the daily, so that's actually nice. I can erase these. See, this is how I play with my extensions too. Just like another extension thing I do. To look for short-term resistance and supports, you draw the most recent lowest pullback from a high to the most recent high, and then pull that back. I can pull that all the way back down to the bottom here. Look at that. Everything lines up. You don't want to create a chart or an image because you want it to be bullish. You got to look at the bearish and the bullish. See, the bearish here right now, I'm not seeing any bearish because I'm looking. Another thing that points out to me is this double bottom. But not just, it's not, I'm not going to even call it a double bottom, but this action here, the close above this here, right here. I don't know why it's not. There we go. That. And this is another one here. So it pushed down to here. It does really good when it makes these wicks. It does nice wicks when it pulls back. Another one here. See now, I mean, people would say, oh, that's not a inverse head and shoulders. You can categorize it as however you want to. You can make whatever image from it as you want. But to me, this is extremely nicely bullish. I like this setup over 182. Gets over 182. We can possibly see a breakout above, which will get us around 185.26. I want to see how we test the 187. So 187 core. Wait, right now we're trading at 178. So a 10-point move in 3 weeks. So look at, I would basically do this. I'll go to trade, right? I'll look 3 weeks out. So right now this is December, not counting this week. I always count the following week and the week after that. 1, 2, 3, January 31st. And that's 3 weeks out. 10 points above current price. Puts us around 187.50 to 190. So the 190s are not too bad either. For those that like risk, you can look at the 190, the 187.50s. They're actually priced right. They're basically priced what the 190s are for the following week. So the 187.50s here for the 24th is actually not that bad. You're looking at 2 weeks. And then again, you got to look at your charts also, because you got to remember you got a daily chart and a weekly chart. Weekly chart, a daily chart, you have time. So if we're looking at the 24th, that's here. So it has a chance to come back, and this will be how tight it is here. By the 24th, this triangle is already super tight. So it either breaks out or breaks down. But the fact that we are about to cross the 14 and 30 SMA, I usually do a box. So this is from a breakout from when it bottomed, and then it moved to top out here. So if I duplicate this, gives you an idea. I actually like to draw it from wherever it bounced off. So it bounced off the 30 there. This one closed at the 14, at the 30. So I'd rather put it from here. So if we get a move in the next couple of days, it puts us, this is next week, the 17th. So 185s for next week. What are those looking like? The 17th. They're looking pretty cheap. 60 cents to 50 by 60. I like these, the 185s. The 187.50s, that's a little tricky. I mean, you can probably get a premium bump. So if it does actually move up, let's say, I'll change the date on this, reset it. I'll put it to, okay, I'll put it to, let's just say we hit 185 this week. Let's just give you an idea, plus 5-point moves. This is by Friday, by Friday's close. So those 187.50s will actually be worth 76 cents. But we need to hit 185 by this week. So you go back into the charts. You go to your weekly now, because you need to know what's the weekly ranges this animal has. Last week's range was 5 points. Prior week to that was 3 points. I like to look for the smallest ranges. Why? Because the smaller the range, that's how you know. That's how I like to calculate my average ranges and stuff like that. I don't use true range or nothing like that. That just makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. So last week was round out this 358. We can round it to 4 points. Last week, 5 points, 4 points. Prior to that, 4 points. Prior to that, 6 points. Off of this hammer, or for this nice double, we can call it a double bottom if you want. We need to see it close this week above 183.69. So even if we got 183.69 this week would be sick. So I'm going to do a 3-point move. Let's just say that. So a 3-point move this week, and even just above that and close there, those 185s for next week. Still, let's see. Let's click it. 183. The 185 would be worth 90 cents. The 187.50s would be worth 32 cents. That's on close for the 10th. So this is on top watch as well. This is on my radar. I like this. I'm actually going to put in some alerts. If it opens down, I would like it to open at 179.34, and I will smack the crap out of the 182 weeklies. because 182 is a smart thing to do. I want to see that come down. So that's GD. You have PRA and you have ESS. PRA, we played this a long time ago. Moves pretty weird, but if you have time on it, it can work in your favor. I like where it's at because it's basically it's coming off of a downtrend. This first green, what is this? This is a weekly chart. First green strong week in a while, and it's inside. Like I always tell you guys, I like a green candle inside of a red candle. To me, that's usually bullish. Or you get a red candle and then an engulfing green candle to follow outside. We can do a box mimic on this one and get something similar. We can have a move like this. This is not inside, it's more of an outside candle, but you guys get the picture. And then you have this setup. I want to see a follow through, but I'm not saying we're going to get this big of a move, but targeting 14 SMA on the weekly, which is about 30. What is that? 14 or 30. It's about 38. And I wasn't even looking at January's. January 40s would be a little bit much because that's 2 weeks. But judging by the weekly candles, it has a nice range of 1 point. So 1 point a week. I was looking at, I think it was May or August. I think it was August. I don't know if it was the 50s or something like that. They were pretty cheap. August 50s are pretty cheap. And then I opened up the daily chart. I mean, not the daily, the monthly chart to get an idea. It's a new year. First of the month. I mean, see, like, look at this. If this is considered a bottom, by end of January, we're looking at least 30, 38-ish. And then from there, we can definitely get a move to 40. I mean, 50 is a stretch by August. We need moves like this, though. This is the bottom here, and this is crazy because it's actually higher than this low over here. So would we consider this somewhat of this is the head, left shoulder, right shoulder. But I like this setup. I mean, this chart is, I like this. I want to see it engulfing. So this should be 38.41 by end of month. And the only thing that it has is January 20 calls. The 40s are a stretch. So the next best thing would be to take the February ones. See, it was the February 40 calls, trading 15 by 30. It's 100% spread. I don't like it, but that will definitely change. I'll probably be testing it, messing around with it. But if we can get here by end of month, and then we get a follow through, I want to see at least 42 by February. Playing the 50s is definitely a stretch. But I like the February 40s on these. The 45s for May, I mean, can that hit? 45 would be around here. Breakout is above 40.56. So I would duplicate. Somewhere around here. We definitely have a solid bottom in so far. We have higher lows coming off from April lows. Bounced up, hit 14 SMA, rejected. It's been rejecting the 14 SMA, since 2018. It's been in a downtrend. I mean, we have to also wait for them to open up some more strikes too. But the 50 calls, anything after August, 50 calls would be nice. If they had leads for this, it would be a good lead play too. Pro Assurance. Next up is ESS. If I'm not charting it, it's because there's already a video for it. And the levels are still intact and the levels are still the same. So Mo is one I'm not going to chart because there's already a video on it. Look at this monthly. Hands down bullish. Hands down bullish. $14 SMA right off of it. Looking at January calls, this is trading currently at 301. Pretty expensive. But I mean, if you look at the monthly, look at the ranges, 21 points, 18 points. We're currently 7 points. So another 10 points from the high of this month would be 313. So like the 310s would be the best play for this one. Oh, they're pretty cheap. 310s would be a nice play. You can get them under $1. That would be sick. That would be actually the most safest thing to do. Checking out February's. I like to look out even more. February's, since we have on average, I like to, even though the range is above 18 points for the monthly, I want to give myself room. So what I do is I'm going to say the minimum range is 15 points. So I'm going to use 15 points as a minimum range. So if this does close, let's say inside it goes green, it closes around 310. Next up would be another iPhone. Top of 310 at 20 points to 310. 330 is actually not out the question. So looking at February 330s won't not it's actually not a bad idea too. They're trading at 65 cents. But a safe thing to be is paid at 320s. That's much more safe. Looking at these going further out, the 340s for April, January, March, April. That starts the beginning of the second quarter of the year. The 330s are not bad. The 340s are not bad as well. If this is a bottom off of the 14 SMA, when it bounces off the 14 SMA, see here, it already touched the 14 and 30. Came back, touched this. Now I want to see it bounce off of it. We have enough people in our community to watch every single thing that we go over. We have the more eyes, the better. And I tell you guys this for a reason, because it's very important. We can't miss anything if everybody's watching something. At least 5 people are watching something. We can even get to a point where let's say I'm watching GS, but I focus on the H4 and the daily, but somebody else can be focused on the weekly and the monthly because they like to buy time. We can have the long-term traders and the short-term traders. The short-term traders focus on shorter time frames. The long-term traders focus on the longer time frames, where it's a win-win no matter how you put it. Like, oh, okay, I'm bearish short-term as opposed to somebody being bullish long-term. So we have a long-term 3-month positions out, and we can be collecting with some weekly puts. Or we can have a long-term bearish position out, and we can be collecting on weekly calls. It's always going to be an opportunity. Just remember that. So I want to see us get over 302.64. This is the daily. Now the daily looks much better. We've been in a channel, let's say, you can call it a bear flag, or you can just call it a channel now. I'm actually going to get rid of this one, and I'll redraw my fibs another time. But this is the range that we have to get out of. Once we came down here, it was 302.64 and 294, back and forth, back and forth. It's been in this range for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 2 weeks. I want to see us break out of this 2-week range. See, like when these stocks do things like this, they either break down or they break up. So here we have another one. This was the range, and then what happened? Broke down. You start finding patterns. You start finding these patterns, and when you find these patterns, it starts making sense. Okay, now we close above the 14 SMA. First close above it. Maybe we retest 298.92 tomorrow. Nice gap down there. Hammer off of that. Get above 304.57 this week. I want to see us get over the double bar. We get over the double bar, targeting 310. The 310s can definitely work. A gap down to 298. Open up to 310s. And if we can get a close above 304.57 or even 307, we can probably even see 310 by end of week. That's 110 here. So this is our target, 310 red bar. could possibly pull back from there, forming a right shoulder, which is around 304.57. And then we target 321 long term to 329.22, which is going to be a breakout area to targeting 340. So that for that April for the quarterly.